Yeah.
It's close enough to 2 o'clock. I think we'll go ahead and call this budget meeting to order. We're going to dispense of the saying the Pledge of Allegiance and continue on into it. Earlier, I was contacted by Mark Sturtevant. He has a request.
Thank you for letting me squeeze in here. We lost a compressor here in this building, a rooftop unit. Couple estimates there. Like I said, we lost a compressor here in this building, and we need to replace it. I did get the 2 estimates there, and I gave you, there's an option for the warranty, 5-year warranty on that compressor. If you're interested in going with that.
Have you used either one of these before, Mark? These
Yes.
companies? Which one do you usually use?
WSM. And they did come in less than Havel.
Because the standards are the laws like that.
You can take this out of your budget. You don't need an
Well,
appropriation.
I'm asking if we could take it out of
Two cap.
fume cap.
Have you got enough money in your budget to do it? In your maintenance budget?
Today, but I'm not going to, I don't have enough to get through the rest of the year.
I think you ought to cut it out of your budget and run out, come back.
What's in your budget, Mark, how much left?
Yeah, that's a motion.
I'm not sure what it is right now at this moment. We have contracts that come out of that quarterly, so there's still some more that.
I'd like to know how much he's got in his budget before I make a vote on it.
Which one is Bill?
These maintenance budget.
Use maintenance budget.
Well, which estimate?
Take the
36004. Oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Which estimate is he approved?
try
14.
14.
14,000.
Yeah, is that the one your motion was for?
Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry, I assumed that, Bill.
Yeah.
As of today, there's $10,253.
How much?
$10,253.
You don't have enough.
Won't.
Won't cut it.
I thought you said you thought you had enough, or you did, in fact, say you thought you had enough. So I'll withdraw that motion.
Yes, might as well. Second.
I make a motion, we approve it out of cum cap,
Which one?
the $14,010 or whatever.
Is that with the warranty or without, Jim?
That's without, do you think we should have the warranty?
I do.
Well, I make it with the warranty.
I'll second it.
Motion and second. Do we have any additional discussion?
So the total then is for $15,144 and no cents?
Do you think, so you actually think then that Well, a little over 1/14 of the cost for the warranty is worthwhile, huh?
How long
On
has this
commercial,
one,
I do.
how long has this one lasted?
3 years.
3 years? Well, yeah. Yeah, we do need to buy the warranty then.
The one that's out was actually the one that the lightning hit 3 years ago when we lost all that equipment.
Yeah.
Is that
take it
covered in
within
lightning too, I assume?
Yes.
Okay.
Motion and second. We have any additional discussion? In favor of the motion signify by your right hand. Opposed, the same.
Thank you, gentlemen.
And we'll go back into our budget hearings at this time on it. And our initial one is Circuit Court. We have a letter from Circuit Court concerning the cuts proposed.
His main concern was the pauper attorneys, I guess.
Yes, it is.
Yeah, and I think when we cut that, we kind of knew that we might have problems there with that, with what they've spent already this year and last year.
We left it at 25,000, we cut 15 off of it, is that correct?
Well, it's the same thing. We're gonna increase it because what we think might happen, or we're gonna do it with what we know.
We're gonna do it as we go, right?
John, but
What he said?
did he mention that the Chin's public defender, I mean, he just mentioned the 40,000, he didn't make any comments about the other one in the letter I have here.
No.
You know,
Is
we
that-
left the other one, well, we left them both the same, but he doesn't mention that.
No, he does
No,
not.
he doesn't. That I see.
You guys didn't make any changes to the chins. You left it the same. The only one you changed was pauper attorney.
Oh, we left the other one,
Yeah, we left it the same.
but he had requested 50 for that other one. And we left it the same, and then he didn't mention anything in his letter about it.
To increase to 25,000.
So are we just considering taking the 12702 line up to 40,000 from 25 and leaving the other one like he'd requested 50 and we left it 25? I mean, we've taken them both back or just the one?
So we only got one of it.
When you guys
We
made the
did change.
decision, yeah, you made the decision to leave the chins as where it was and reduce the pauper attorney back to the 25,000.
But isn't he just requesting we take pauper up and he's only mentioned chins? Is that the way I'm reading it?
Yeah, but we didn't cut it.
No, we just left it the same.
We left it the same.
But all we're doing is going on what he thinks might happen.
So we just need to change the one public defender, not both.
No, just public defender, we don't really need to change that. He's gonna run out sometime, he's gonna be back. Just whatever figure you want him to run out of.
But there's such a case, you might just want to change line items, right, or what?
Possible.
We leave our cut the same, and when he needs the funding, have him come back.
That'd be my choice. Because he might need 15,000 more, he might need 50,000 more, depending on how things go, and we don't know, that's a guess now.
Can't guess it.
So, you know, you've gone through these and figured out the cuts that we've made. Are we gonna come up with a figure we can live with by using all these cuts?
These cuts, yes.
Halfway, Bill. We come up with half enough so far.
So we better
Just have-
keep trimming where we can, I'd say, I recommend not making,
44, plus
leave it
12, plus
alone.
91.
Just like we did it
Just as
before.
we did it purposely.
Keep it the same.
This is just without salaries though. This is just all of the operating expenses that you guys looked at.
But I agree with Bill. I'd be in favor of leaving it alone, like we got it.
Right.
I agree.
I don't think you need a motion, I don't know for a Superior Court, is it?
And next up is Superior Court. We also have a letter on Superior Court.
Hey, Deb.
You are Judge Paul this afternoon?
Yeah, I hope I represent him well. I'm not as eloquent as he is, I'm sure.
We cut medical exams, is what we cut out of it.
Yes.
Again, the same reference to the last one, you upped it because you think that's what's gonna happen.
Well, yes, the circumstances have changed, and I don't know what he said in his email. I can explain if you have questions.
You don't show any cuts in the public defender on mine.
No, it was to pauper attorneys and appeals that we had cut and put in exams.
Oh, I see it, okay.
Due to our pauper attorney situation. Our public defenders, we had 2 of them for the last couple of years, but we have had some turnover in just those couple of years because of the split salary. Not salary, but split compensation, I should say, for public defender. That's no longer going to be the case. We're going to have just one public defender now. That in itself, though, may cause us to have more pauper attorney expenditures. That has happened in the past. I don't know that that's going to happen right away, but due to conflicts, that's why that fund had gone up some in the last couple of years. Now, due to our public defenders being back down to 1, we just don't know what to expect. However, because we did have to, when we put in our budget, we had taken some of that money out to put in exams because we were seeing a request for more mental exams. However, we're thinking that with just our one public defender, there may not be as much of a request for medical exams, and so we may not need that money that we had thought that we might need. So we're fine with cutting the medical exams.
Down to 5,000?
5,000, with the caveat, Judge Paul wanted me to make sure we said that we may be having to see about increasing again our pauper attorney because of our public defender situation.
I think we can do that, just like Bill mentioned on circuit, if you have to come back,
Yeah,
if he
we're
does,
agreeable to the cuts, just know that
Okay.
in the future, we may have to
That's fine, we'll deal
do
with it in the
something
future.
different.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay,
Right. Thank you.
very much.
Yes.
Have a good day.
Probation Department is our next agenda.
Yeah, and I don't quite understand that.
The proposed cuts that I received are basically 2 salaries of probation officers, and the cuts don't meet the 2018 salary schedule that's set by the state of Indiana.
So we need to get to the minimum we have to do, right?
Like the state judicial conference sends these things,
Yes, they said.
and we're
that-
not in compliance with that.
No, we are not.
That would be probation officer 4 or 3?
Both of them,
It was, hang on one second.
I beg your pardon.
3 and 4 were both cut.
You have that number that's required to be?
Yes, I requested exactly what they were supposed to be.
Oh, that is the required, what you requested. Okay.
Right, I requested exactly what the salary schedule is set for those 2.
And again, that is a shall, not may. Or is that a may?
That's
We don't
a
have any
shall.
choice.
Yeah.
What's the difference, Amy, between 3 and 4, that one of them's at 51,392 and the other one's at 46,720?
It's based on years of service. The 51,000 is Ed Bieber. And just so you know, he will hit that salary. He'll be a 10-year probation officer at the next year. Although we're setting it that, he doesn't get that salary until he hits his 10th year, which is December 1st. So you're going to be keeping him at his normal salary until next December. So you really will only have a short time that you'll actually base
Oh, okay.
that thing. As well as the other officer, she hits that salary in April. So you'll keep her at her current salary until April.
How much of a difference is that?
Quite a bit. Let's see.
So you,
About 7,000 for Ed and just a less than $1,000 for Jen.
So if we just dealt with it at that time, it's not going to be very much.
But
does this number reflect the entire year up to the raise, so that 19.32% increase for probation officer number 3, we're essentially only going to be paying 1/12 of that?
Yeah.
But you're putting it in the budget for the full amount?
Right, we put it in for the full amount, but we never reach that until their date of anniversary. Now, some of these salaries, such as when Ed hits that 10-year, it's 10 to 14 years. So he basically stays just with a little bit of an increase each year, whatever the salary schedule goes up, but he stays within that range.
So to get
This
to
is
that
just a
10
big jump for him.
Getting to that 10-year mark, yeah, I mean, that's almost 20% raise. That's
Yeah.
very significant. But that's only for 1 month out of this upcoming year,
That's
so
correct, yeah.
it wouldn't have to be that full 51,392. It could be the 8323 divided by 12 and just put 1/12 of it in there for the budget.
If
and
that's
the other one will
what
be
you do.
April that it changes?
Yes.
So like 4 months.
So you got,
So
8 months you'll be
8
paying
months
it.
you'll be paying that.
But I guess like what Thor, I guess I'm kind of agreeing with
Cut it
Thor.
back.
We don't need to put the full amount in the budget, do we?
We always have, I mean, we've been doing this since 2002. I think that there's just always money left over that goes
Well,
to
but
the
what my
catch up,
point
but
is, we got to
figure
cut
it out.
400,000 somehow.
Yeah,
Jim, if we don't do anything with it, when their time comes up, she'll have to come back in and we'll have to do a
Salary ordinance.
at that time, which is not going to be a whole lot of money, not like this.
Well, Amy,
yes.
let me ask you this question. What if we increase these salaries, just like we do everybody else, whatever we determine that's going to be,
Right.
and just put that in the budget now, you know, and then, so that starts in January 1, then in April, could you come back in April and we change your salary ordinance and come up with some more money, or should we put a little extra in for that one right now because it's not going to be a full year and the other one's not going to be only but 1/12?
Yeah.
Maybe with this one, we should fund a little higher now and we don't have to come up with so much.
Actually, what you are recommending for Ed is less than what he's making. His was split between 2 funds, and I've asked for the county to pick up that extra $3,000 that was paid out of user fees. So either we can continue doing that, because what you're asking me to reduce it to is less than what he's making now. So I guess we just have to know if you want me to continue paying $3,000 out of user fees and then keep him at what you're saying.
That would,
That would get you through the whole next year then, easily, wouldn't it?
if you do it
You
out of
wouldn't have to
user
come back
fees,
in
you
on
wouldn't have to
him.
do anything.
No, I would still have to come
Oh, you
back.
would?
Yeah.
guess what we don't want to do is put more in there than we need to, because we have to
Sure.
reduce our budget by 400,000.
Right.
You know, I guess that's what we're trying to do, rather than put that whole amount in, and even though it doesn't get spent, we can use it.
Yeah. And this will be the only year, since he does make that big jump to 10 years, that this is really the situation. Next year, he'll basically stay in that all year long. He won't have to
What's the
do this.
increments, 5 years or what?
Yeah, every 5 years, like 4 to 9 years, and then 10 to 14. and,
Yeah.
on up.
So what is your suggestion, Jim?
Well,
The numbers I come up with that we'd have to have is 693.58 and 1603.33.
And does that include the 3,000 that she was referring to also?
That's
Because of the
just,
That's just-
that would cover their increase that they have to have prorated for the amount of time next year that they'll actually be receiving it.
Right. Well, she's saying we'll still be, in one case, we'll still be short by 3,000, right?
Yes.
well, her total request is like $10,700 additional money. And if we don't have to give her that much, we could give her whatever. I don't know, what'd you say you thought it was going to run about?
Well, one of them's 693.58 and the other one's 1603.33. Give or take that rounded off penny.
Like $2,000, $3,000 is what
I
you're
just
saying?
figured about
It's
$8.
$2,500.
2,500?
Amy, could you just pay that out of user fees that year?
The full,
Just
how much are you asking?
Just the increase.
2,300, I'm sorry.
On top of the 3,000, the 3,200 that we're already paying him? Is that what you're asking? I pay 20,000 for one probation officer. Her salary's not quite split, and then I pay 3,210 for his. So if you're asking me to add several more thousand,
Couple $1,000 to cover those two.
I don't know.
I'd be in favor of leaving it alone, and if you can do that, do it, and if you can't, come back. And we're only talking about, what, $2,000?
2,300?
Then I'm gonna need to adjust the other, add the user fees. And I don't know that, that we can do that every year. I would be happy to figure out what it's gonna take to pay for those salaries on top of what you're doing, if you'd like to do that upfront, rather than, we need to know exactly what we're going to
Then
do.
next year, when you come in budget, you'll know what the salaries are, because they're
Yeah.
going to be in place by that time for
entire
both
year.
of them.
Yeah.
Till their anniversary date, yeah.
Yeah.
It's the same situation every year, basically.
But didn't you say they're kind of like in 5-year increments as far as
Right, but
jumps in
they
the...
do the big jumps. They do-
But probation officer 1 and 2, now they'll be coming up again how soon?
I'm probation officer 1, I believe. No, I'm sorry, I'm 2. Probation officer 1 is an officer that we don't even have hired right now. That's a vacant position.
Okay.
But they don't get a big jump until, about $3,000 a year, up until year 3, then they jump quite a bit.
Okay. Thank you.
I don't know, do you all have a copy of the salary schedule to?
Yeah.
Okay. Probation officer 2 is the one that's paid 20,000 out of user fees, and then the rest is out of county general.
So beside yourself, then there's how many probation officers right now?
I have 4 officers that are paid out of county general, and I have a grant funded probation officer, so I have 5.
So the schedule, as I remember it, was based on the number of probation officers is what you determine what?
Right,
Okay.
yeah.
I know one time they went from like 3 to 4, whatever, and
Yeah.
I can't think who was over there, but because they added another one, then the schedule called for him quite a pretty good
Right.
bump up.
Right. The next bump isn't until you have 9 officers.
Oh, so quite a big
we've
spread
got-
now.
Yeah, so we're just
But their
varying it at
salaries
4 to 8.
are mandated to...
Yeah, they are, but this is...
Well, Amy, do you have a suggestion then? I mean, if you,
I would just rather ask for what we need give me some time to figure out exactly what we need, so that I don't have to come back and ask for more to cover the salary. I think we could,
Okay.
between Jana and I, or payroll, and I can sit down and figure out exactly what we're going to need just to cover these salaries.
Anything else for Amy?
Right, and that looks like that would probably be maybe a $5,000 savings to this year's budget, and I think we're probably going to need that $5,000, so that would be great.
Thank you. Next, we have the Health Department.
Good afternoon. I think the only item that Jana had sent back was our change from part-time food position to the full-time position. Reasons why we're asking to do that. One, this position's been part-time for 20 years now, almost 21. Before that time, Brassy Phillips was the inspector at the time. And if you know Brassy Phillips, you know why it went from full-time to part-time. Because he did one inspection in the morning and one in the afternoon after his nap. That's why the council at the time, when Marianne was hired, took it to a part-time position. Since that time, the 21 years, seen huge expanse of restaurants, food trucks especially nowadays, and increased regulations from the state. And secondly, we have issues keeping the office open. The commissioners can testify to the fact they've had this last week. We had to close the office. I got called out to a spill. There's no one to cover the office except for myself and Heather, who has a waiting list of individuals on her docket. And so we're down a full-time vital records person from 2008 when that position was cut. So we're already down one position. And then I have 4 different positions that I take care of. So it's very difficult for us to keep the office open all the time. The immunization clinic does close at noon because they have a scheduled appointments for that office. But our office is open to the public anytime anybody wants to come in and get birth and death certificates or paternities, things like that. Also, I have to be trained, and Heather's trained in doing vital records as well. So when Laura takes vacation, we know we just can't say no to the public for however many days she takes off. In fact, we've had to hire a person from our temporary agency here in town to cover the office for about 3-4 weeks total already this year. When Laura leaves and goes somewhere, we have to cover for that. And thank goodness we have some grant money left over to pay that person out of there, but we had to make special exceptions with the auditor's office to use that grant money. So we're really desperately needing this part-time position to full-time. This person will not only take care of food compliance that they're doing, but they'll also be cross-trained to cover Laura in all aspects of her office duties as far as birth and death certificates, paternities, knowing the programs, being able to print those things, answer questions, but also then answer some basic questions on my part when I am gone out of the office. I've been here over 21 years in October, lots of time to take off or it goes in the bank, and so when I'm out, people got to be able to answer the questions that I have. There's got a wide variety of things that I cover that nobody in the office knows how to do except for myself.
Scott, at one time, they used to do restaurant inspections or tavern inspections 3 times a year. Did they cut that to 2 over the years?
Yeah, so when they passed an ordinance, I think it was 2013, passed an ordinance, and only the restaurants that have a difficult menu, an extensive menu, they're scheduled more than once a year. Everybody still has to be scheduled once a year, but those more complicated menu types get more than one. Plus, we had to add in complaints with that. We got foodborne illness outbreaks that we deal with. So, not only those inspection types might have slowed down for like food markets, your deli marts and things like that, but we've got also increased regulation on other things that we take care of.
The number of restaurants has surely increased too, hasn't it, over the years?
Yeah. We have more restaurants, we have more festivals, and we have more food trucks.
So that $41,912 isn't a direct reflection of the increase in the budget because you already have a part-time position, correct? So what's the difference?
You
And
want to
what line
subtract
was it?
16,000 from that.
And what line is that on?
That is 11,700.
I don't see an
I don't have it on here,
Okay, I
Scott.
think you said 11616 is what Jenna had said.
That's for the full, that's for the 41,912, but where's the line item that you're paying the part-time person out of?
Well, last year's budget.
This current, yeah, it was in last year's budget.
Here's last year's budget. So last year's budget would be out of,
It's about
it's going
4
to
or
be.
5 pages back,
Yeah,
under
it's going to be part-time.
local health
It says
maintenance.
no, that's your grant. This is part-time. It should be,
11,700 part-time?
yes, that's what it is. That's your.
Last year was 16.
Right, so as we subtract 16 from the 41. The 41 was factored from today's current factoring system.
Where's the 11,700 line at?
I don't have
The
it either.
11,700
I saw it
was
back 3 or
taken
4
out
pages.
because we're no longer having part-time in the office.
Oh, so that's the reason it doesn't show on here?
Yeah.
Okay.
So what was that? I'm sorry, I was thinking when you guys were talking, then what was that line on that last year?
16,000 last year.
Yeah.
16,000.
Okay.
So you're seeing an increase of about 25. Again, this person is not only going to do foods, but they're going to be cross-trained in several different other areas. We thought that'd be more effective than asking for a second vital records person that would only do vital records. It'd be more sense to have a cross-trained person that can do different aspects of the office.
Are you trained in foods too?
Am I training foods? I am trained in food, yes. I can do, I'm nationally trained to do all environmental health. I'm certified for that.
But there's also a compensation package that goes along with, and there's
I agree.
social security, taxes, and unemployment. What's the total package for an employee outside of their wages, Jan?
I don't know off the top of my head. I'll have to get back to you on that.
You don't just have it calculated out then?
Does your,
So-
But it also depends on what kind of insurance the person would get, if it's,
Does-
you know,
does your budget here on 11,800, 801, 17,100, 17,200, 17,300, is that a direct reflection of the new full-time position? Will there be numbers added to that?
Yes.
That's a direct reflection of what you're asking for. So there would be cuts if we, there would be additional cuts in all of those categories if we didn't approve the position, period.
Correct.
Minimal, but they're still there.
Yes.
So that difference between 2017, 2018 column of 2604, 2709, 5,000 is the difference, is essentially what the savings would be if we didn't approve that position from what this budget states
How
now.
many hours is Mary Ann working?
Mary Ann's working, she worked this last pay
The
period,
health
29,
doesn't affect our
28
general
hours.
$10,000.
So we're just messing up a rope, huh?
yeah.
What we're doing here doesn't make any difference, because this is out of our own health fund, it doesn't affect our general fund,
Where we have a separate tax levy.
and doesn't affect the tax rate.
Even the benefits. Even the benefits, the health insurance and all that.
All of it, I believe, it's all, it all comes out of the health fund. No, it's not, doesn't affect the tax rate, the general fund tax rate.
And if you, Dr. Hatcher also didn't take a increase either for, she has the 27th paid, but she didn't take an increase this year.
Anybody on council have any suggestions?
We need a health and a food inspector, though, one way or another.
Yes, I mean, we have to have and we'd have one no matter what. It's just trying to keep all the
Yeah, I understand.
apples in the cart with
Yeah.
demands for the office, demands for myself being out.
Is your,
As of today, I have 101 extra hours that I put in over the 37 and a half a week.
The position's titled food sanitarian, right?
Yes.
And this does not affect general, it comes out of your own tax base, right?
Right.
then the person that you've got doing that job right now is part-time?
Yes.
And they're interested in going, taking a full-time job?
On that, she hasn't made that decision completely. That she has been informed that this is the proposed budget. She may decide to either retire or or continue on with that. Obviously, she would need additional training if she continued on with that.
Does she want to stay on in the position she's at part-time, I guess?
She has expressed that she would continue, yes. She's not expressed that she would retire otherwise.
But you're not, have you put any thought into 2 part-time positions to cover your needs?
We have thought about that. The issue is splitting that part-time person in their time. They would have to have additional training, obviously training in the office for Laura, and then they'd have to be there during the time that she would go. So it would take less of a burden for me to be in the office when she leaves. We did not go that route only because it made sense to have somebody full-time that would be trained and hopefully have some longevity in the office.
Hard to predict when you want it or when.
It is. We could, say Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursdays, and then, I would cover the rest of the time. But if there's conferences or other things, I'm out of the office, then change that schedule. It'd be hard.
How often are you paying fees for services for staffing?
Just since the end of May, June, and July, we've been doing that. We have an employee whose mother is now on hospice, and they've had to take extra time out. And so, I didn't think it was right for me to sit in the office and do office work when I should be out doing other things. I'm already going out after hours and before hours with the 101 hours I've done just to cover the time I'm spending in the office.
You echo those sentiments?
I echo those sentiments. I'm just here to support.
We often have a lot of people coming from out of state or other counties to get birth certificates and death certificates, and if we're closed, they have no idea that we're closed ahead of time. And they get here, then they're upset, obviously, which is fine, but then they, talk to commissioners or the Pam, and then, we want to be open for them too.
You also have online capabilities that...
You can apply for that online, however, payments still are not accepted online, which would be something we'd love to be able to do. However, your birth and death certificates have a seal on them. We can't transmit that via the internet or through fax. So there has to be mail, or they have to come in person. So until the federal government changes that, we're stuck with that system.
So the bottom line is you're requesting that the food sanitarian stay within your budget
Yes.
Yeah, on a full-time basis.
on a full-time basis.
Right, I mean,
Yeah.
either way, yes, we still need that position, whether it still stay part-time or not, but we hope to go to full-time.
And it does not affect our general budget.
No.
I'd rather see them have coverage than pay for a staffing service. I'd rather see them have coverage in that office than end up paying for a staffing service later on down the road. Or, I think you're going to pay more when you get it stuck and you have to hire a service to bring in additional help.
And our staffing service is only a person to sit in the office. They answer our phones and take notes.
This person,
And don't know anything
No,
about the
so
business.
when I get back in the
Can't do
office,
anything
I have
else,
to
it'll-
finish the work. So,
So, Chad, you're suggesting we leave the food sanitarian within his budget.
yes.
Any opposition to that from council? Thank you.
okay, thank you.
Next part is clerk's office.
Before we move on the health department budget, I had a note here that we was taking some away from the equipment repair. Is that still? Did we have that down, or?
I didn't have anything written down on that.
I did not have that either.
Which line was that?
37004.
I just had a dot in front of the number, that's all I had, I don't know.
Anything on that? Okay, that's fine. Just double check.
Okay, as far as my budget, I hadn't got anything that basically asked me to make cuts, but I think I have come up with a couple of cuts that I think that would help the budget quite a bit. So the first thing that I do want to say, as far as for the personal services, for the salary and wages, after being here at the last council meeting, I learned a lot, and I understand a process that needs to be taken and that there are going to be some changes made. So for the two supervisors where I had asked for additional raises, money for them, I understand what the process is and that I have to go through. That is 11300 and 11400. They're both supervisors in the office, and I had asked for an additional $500. Plus, I understand, too, that you're trying to make cuts, and I did ask for additional raises for my staff, so I do understand where you're coming from and what you have to do, so. But I think where I can help, if you all turn, well, did anybody have any questions on that? I'm sorry. Okay, if you turn to the election budget, if you look down at the bottom, for other services and charges. If you will look right there in the third line, these $67,000 for under the maintenance agreement. What you all know is that our Infinity voting machines, I've informed you that they have to go through an upgrade. And for this year's budget, you appropriated and approved $25,000 to go towards that upgrade. The remainder, what is needed, is $55,000. Now, out of that 67, $12,000 is for the maintenance, so that's something separate, maintenance for our machinery. So $55,000 is what I need for the upgrades for the Infinity machines. But the upgrades do not have to be completed until 2020. So if you want to take that $55,000 and cut it in half for next year's budget, and then the other half for 2019, that would save some money right there.
Isn't that what we discussed that, did we not?
Yes.
I think we did, and somebody had mentioned, they thought, well, maybe we ought to just pay it, because next year maybe we won't have the money to do it again.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
I just wanted to
But we
offer
did-
that up.
Yeah.
I got down 52.
I got 52 wrote down, also thinking that we'd give her a sum of it now, and then, so we didn't have to come up with it all of it at once.
Well, I had put down 52, and I crossed it out, and somebody, I thought, suggested pay it all, and I wrote 67 back in.
Well, $12,000, like I said, is for maintenance that we have to pay yearly anyway on the equipment. The original estimate was $88,000. And right now, I believe that I have $30,000 setting in a fund to go towards that. You approved $25,000 for this year's budget. Then I had some money left over from after we purchased the poll books, the electronic poll books. And you had asked me if there was anything left over, if I could put that towards the upgrades. So that's where I have the $30,000 on hand right now. But as long as the upgrades are completed, we can get them completed in 2019. As long as it's completed prior to 2020, we'll be fine.
I think that's a pretty good idea to give her half of it in 18, and since we're trying to get this cut down.
And not knowing what we're faced with next year as
Yeah.
well.
So what we're gonna put, what kind of number we're gonna put in there?
Put half of it, whatever that is.
Should be around 27.5.
That's line item 32003.
Yes.
27.5 additional.
As compared to,
Is that compared to-
67, I think. We put
No.
back in,
Yeah,
didn't we, or
67.
not?
Well, what it'll be the 27.5 plus the 12,000. That will be the total that I would need for next year.
So it's 38.5, or 39.5.
39.5.
So that's,
workable. All right. Any other questions for Deb?
I really,
What?
I hesitate bringing this up only because I do not in any way, shape, or form want to step on the commissioners' toes, because I have not had a chance to speak to our commissioners. It's concerning the election budget again, and it's the very top line item. I budgeted for overtime for the election, $10,000. I think most of you councilmen understand that during an election year, my staff puts in a lot of overtime. We work a lot of evenings, a lot of mornings, a lot of weekends, and so forth. In the past, we have always done comp time and never had an issue with comp time, but I do know that comp time is in our manual, and it is set at 40 hours, and I know this has nothing to do with you. Please forgive me, commissioners, please. So I really do want to sit down and talk to our commissioners about this. The only reason why I budgeted the $10,000 is because I don't know where I stand for next year as far as if additional comp time can be approved for my staff, or if we must go with overtime. So I did it just to be on the safe side.
So you're saying if you could give out more comp time, that 10,000 could be cut from the budget?
Right.
But how would that affect you with manpower then if they got the comp time?
It doesn't affect me at all. All of my staff is cross-trained. We're all cross-trained. If I have an empty chair, I do not have to hire somebody to fill that chair. We already do it. But, again, I do not want to cause complications with the commissioners, with Pam, with
sure.
the policy and so forth. So please, honestly, this was the first time that I had put in overtime. I have, for about 6 weeks, been off ill with health issues, and I have not, apologize, have not had a chance to get with our commissioners on this. And so anyway, I guess it's just kind of a bug in everybody's ears.
When you give the comp time out, I mean, there's an understanding that they have to use it before the end of the year?
Yes, my staff always has. They are all very well aware of it.
So whether we would pay it at the end of the year or when they earn it, it would still be paid at the same rate, whether they took it in comp time or overtime, right?
I've never had to pay my staff because, you know, I'm very, very strict with that. If you're going to take comp time, then it will be used prior to the end of the year.
Why don't we highlight the overtime part? If it comes down to where we actually need the $10,000 to meet our $400,000 deficit, why, we can cut it?
It's a good idea.
All right. Anything else, Dan?
Not unless you have any questions.
I'd like to say we appreciate all you do. Thank you
Yes.
so much.
Thank you.
And
Should I
thank
say
you.
ditto? Is that appropriate?
That'd be fine, that'd be fine.
And thank you, staff, for the extra work also.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next item up is the auditor's office. I see no changes. Treasurer's office,
Did anything there either.
no changes there. Recorder's office. See no changes other than salaries, and that will be covered in the ordinance.
Yeah.
Emergency management.
She did that.
Yes.
Good afternoon, gentlemen.
Hi.
You as well?
So far, no emergencies today, so that's been good. Two items that have been up for reduction in my budget regarding the salary from deputy director to full-time deputy director, from a part-time status to a full-time status. As we previously discussed, We're fortunate in emergency management, but all the salaries within our range are 50% reversible from the state. So essentially, the cost reduction from taking that deputy to a full-time would be minimal impact to the county. I understand you have a lot of funds that you need to encumber and bring back, but essentially you'd be getting 2 full-time employees at the cost of $46,000 a year, which I think is significant value. But most importantly to me, and I can understand the personnel issues that you have before you, is our working conditions. And one of the reductions pertained to operating supplies. And it was a reduction that was an amendment that I asked Jana to forward to you. There was a miscommunication between my supervisors in regards to how we were going to allocate funds for new office equipment. Office equipment being a desk, a chair, a storage capabilities for how we operate. I don't believe many of you have had the opportunity to be in our office space downstairs, but it's only about a closet. I don't have a desk, which was purchased by my predecessor, guessing from Walmart. I have no overhead storage bins. I have very minimum cabinet space to be able to storage credential records that have to be on site and available for inspection by the public should they need to be. I certainly would like to make this more presentable, but these are many items that are in a working process from the number of grants that the county has been fortunate to receive with the work that we do, cost savings of over $15,000, $17,000 last year. In regards to purchasing office equipment through a grant process, the state looks at that as a non-expenditure. They look at that as the county holding that seat should provide a working condition for that employee as well as possible. The amount that was requested was from a local provider. It was through Heinen. We had asked them to come in free of charge to assess our workspace and provide a suitable workspace for us to operate in. The amount that was proposed was $8,700. I thought that quite expensive. We went back to Heinen, asked them to trim that budget as much as possible down. We did another assessment through Quill, which is also another authorized provider to the county, and we've trimmed that down to $5,500. So I know the original cost was to return it to the original cost of $4,000, but I am asking for consideration in that operating supplies amount to be increased by $5,500 in order to purchase office equipment to make it a suitable arrangement to operate on a daily basis.
So you, under operating supplies, you want to reduce that 12.7 to 55? Is that what?
Would total be, I believe, it had 4,000 in it initially. There was an amendment that Jana proposed. Originally, there was 87, so I know we're talking a lot of numbers. So I would need the 55 and the 4,000, because the 4,000 pertains to fuel expenses that I already have allocated for payment through the course of 2018, as well as other items that are normal basis. So we're looking at $9,500 for that line item.
And that line item would be reduced by that same amount for next year, right? Because you wouldn't need that.
Correct. Exactly.
You wouldn't need that stuff,
And
so.
this is basically an appropriation for this item.
So you're telling us that your budget for next year is going to be back around the.
4,000. Correct.
Is there any other, do we have any other avenues to purchase office furniture for their office rather than putting it in the budget?
Have you ever priced office equipment through, they call it PEN, comes out of the correctional system?
I actually worked with the Community Corrections Division to see if they had any equipment even within their current status in their different offices. The problem with our space is, again, it's very narrow. Most of it is more executive style furniture that's large desks like you would see in a CEO's office or something of that nature. I can barely even get it through the doorway, let alone have it in the office appropriately. It's a very narrow office. I wish I could have I didn't bring the measurements with me to give you an idea, but essentially the desk most of them are too large from what I worked with. I worked with Vicki out it there and the rest of them, so.
Yeah, I know what you're talking. I bought a commercial desk and brought it into my house, and it was like, whoa.
Amy, what's some of the big things that Homeland Security has left on you in the last year?
There's been a number of different expectations that have been established, most of it having to do with supporting in promoting awareness for civil unrest. A lot of things, Charlottesville, Virginia would be an example of that, working with our law enforcement to make sure that they have the equipment and the needs and the training to be able to facilitate for active shooter and other items that are out there. We're constantly looking at other avenues. Currently, we're looking at a grant option to resecure the government center from its perspective, making it more secure for our elected officials to operate out of this facility. There's a number of different things on a daily basis that we are required and expected to perform a communication with the state and the federal government on our hazards in our area. And one of those largest hazards being our railways that we have and our transportation. We're familiar with those on a regular basis.
Had given you some directives, I didn't know what they were.
I guess I'd like to see her have the money to fit her office, so at least she could work efficiently.
I agree with that.
So under line item 21000, you wished for it to be what at this time?
9,500, I think.
Asking, is that a motion for me or you
It's a
clarify?
question for you. It's, I think you said 9,500, is that correct?
That's correct.
95.
So it's a total of rather than 12,795.
Correct, yes, sir.
And just out of curiosity, what did you trip the other $3,000 to that you had originally had in the budget?
That actually transfers for our fuel expenses that we pay on a monthly basis. Those are just general operating supplies, items. I give an itemized budget to my advisory council every month, every other month when we meet. I have it here from our my trending analysis.
And you'll make sure that your budget next year reflects the reduction in that we won't have to make a note on that. You'll make sure that you do
Absolutely.
that, right?
Yes.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
We're going to leave the deputy director as part-time.
I guess that's a position that I guess I could support, but with the overall budget the way it is, I think we need to wait. I think it's
In our initial process of going through the budget on it, that's one of the areas that we cut.
Yeah.
Leave it with the cuts.
For now, I think we have to.
Right. Anything else for Amy?
Thanks, Amy.
Also, I think it kind of passed through on it, there's through the correctional system on it, Indiana Penal on it, they do have office furniture for sale. You can go online under PEN Inc. on it, and they'll have a catalog online, and they'll also send you a catalog on there. I know we purchased some office items, desks, chairs, through that for the prosecutor's office at one time. So, and they were a lot more reasonable than local.
Okay. I do appreciate that. I had felt that I exhausted what I'd known available to me, so I
Okay.
appreciate that. Thank you.
Our next item is the coroner's office. He did not appear, and we had no changes. The only time we question anything is the autopsies, and that kind of goes by the number of people that are deceased.
Hopefully.
They do an awful lot of them.
Yeah.
Is he just do an autopsy on everybody that dies, I wonder, or he got a selection?
No, there's a criteria that he has to go by, yeah. I've been on a lot of the scenes where, I mean, a person who was at home and had a tremendous amount of health issues, and if the doctor signs off, then they don't generally.
Right. Right.
But if they don't sign off, then his hands are bound as far as that.
Current coroner's well-versed in what's required.
Yeah.
Next item up, E911.
The only question I have is the account 12103. It says change to, was that the dispatcher we added in?
It was just reducing it by the 3,000 that you had.
The only thing I'd request on that is the 3,000 to return. That's coming out of 911 money. And Janelle has nobody out of 13 people that is under her to do her job in case of her absence due to a medical issue or even leaving. We don't have anybody right now that's cross-trained in any of those duties. The next one, the 3,400.
So, on that one, Mark, though, that's a request to change the command structure as far as just adding in like a supervisory position?
Correct.
And that's essentially how all the rest of your departments are set up?
Correct. And the next one, I believe, was IT services. Oh, sorry, 3,400, which would be telephone. You reduced it by 2,500. That's fine. We can live with that. The next one is the IT, the 38,001. Is it minus 1,000 or changed all the way to 1,000, Jana? Because there wasn't any explanation off to the.
That'd have to do what with what?
It was reduced it to 1,000.
Reduce it to 1,000.
Yeah, that's what I got.
And didn't you look that up on expenditures at this point? You know what your balance account is for 2016?
I do not.
Is that something you'd get a bill for, like at the end of the year, for some kind of services?
Well, seeing how I've never dealt with 911, I'm going to have to. Janelle?
See, we had that question, we didn't know, we hadn't spent any money at this point, and we just wondered, now, maybe at the end of the year, there's something that Bill, like a contract service will come due at the end of the year or something, and.
Janelle or Jody, can you help out?
There's not. We're just going to have some computers that need to be.
Yeah, we've recently ran into an issue that the new computer system that was put down there was, I guess the words they used were cloned from the old computers instead of starting from fresh when the computer was clean. And apparently we've been carried over with some of the bad things from the other computers.
So do you have a sense or feel about what you have to have, or?
We just met with that guy this week, so not right at this moment. This was brand new this week of, we requested he was going to write a plan with different stages on what it was going to take to get these computers up to what they believed were better running capabilities. So when that plan comes in, I can share that with you.
We're just trying to base it on the history that we kind of look back in the books and.
Is there
expenditures at this time as well?
Back up to the 12103, Mark, is there a different job description that'll go along with what that person's responsibilities will be?
Yeah, it would be added into doing the director's jobs when absent.
And how did you come up with the 3,000 figure? Is that based on what other supervisors inside your department already make in the other departments?
Ours, sure. I didn't look into others. Ours, the way our structure is at the sheriff's department.
With your jailers and with your deputies and so forth, that line, or that number is a direct reflection of what the supervisory positions are in those separate departments?
More from the road standpoint, because there's a big deviation if you look from a jailer to a sergeant of the jail, which was done prior to me.
What's the difference in that one?
I think it's around 6,000.
Under your IT services, it shows that the appropriation for 2016 was $4,999, and you've expended $614. In looking at that, that's why we reduced the IT services. Have anything else for Mark under 911? You have anything else, Mark?
Just that one recommendation I'd like you to look at for a second in command down there.
Right.
I think it would be appropriate to have that position. We kind of approved that position for, we stayed with that position approval for the third shift sergeant. Is that correct, that we requested this year also?
Yeah, well, it'd be another sergeant, depending on guys with seniority, if they took a day shift sergeant, whatever.
But it would be, so you would have a sergeant on every shift.
Correct.
Right? You wouldn't have two sergeants working second shift.
Correct.
So I think that whatever would be the appropriate number to attach to it, I think adding that position would be appropriate so they have a rank structure within their dispatch. And someone to, someone to be responsible if the director is not there. I don't know what everybody else's feelings on it. I think that's being consistent with what we have in all of our departments.
I think that's a fair assessment.
Put you on the back burner for the rest of it. NSF is the accessor.
Do what?
You want to do your
You want to do the jail now?
jail now?
Yeah, that's fine.
I don't know.
Shows up your first cut is 2,400 uniforms.
Yeah, it's something we run into every year with the price increase of uniforms. Once again, we can live with that. Then the next one will be equipment repair and maintenance. You change from 100 to 80. Once again, we can live with that. If something major comes up, Mark can come over, I can come over and explain it.
2,400 on jail uniforms again.
For the sheriff's deputy, yeah, 15 to 10. Hopefully we'll know through so many deputies over the next couple of years, and we'll make it there too.
37004.
The IT services for the sheriff's budget,
We're on, so John's saying one thing and you're talking about another.
All right.
It's 3801, if you're talking sheriff.
I think,
Okay.
I think Mark was talking about
38001, IT services. You had 70,000 in your requested budget. We reduced it to 60.
live with that.
And that was, doesn't show any expenditure in 16 for it.
Pull that one up, see what the expenditures are.
38001.
The IT services,
Yeah.
up on the sheriff's half, yeah. Up on the sheriff's half, yeah.
Yeah. That, you're okay with that cut? Okay.
The 60,000, you okay? He's okay with the 60,000, no, we cut it too.
Because I think we were at like 25,000 for the year, or 35,000.
We were, in 2016, you had 60,000 in, and you're at 46,803 at this point on expenditures, right?
Yeah.
Good to do that back at 60.
Yeah.
That was it, right?
On the jail side,
Yeah, we did, that's what you started with, John, was the jail for uniforms and equipment, and then we went up to the sheriff's.
okay.
That's it for the changes, but before I go, I'd like to point one thing out to the council. In the public safety budget area, according to the ordinance, the county ordinance 2002-10, the chief deputy of my department should be making 80% of the elected official salary.
That goes back to the sheriff's budget, all right?
Yeah, oh, it's actually in Lowit, in the public safety.
Oh, okay, well, okay. Well, before we move on to that, here on this 37004 on the jail, you'd had 50,000 last, or this current year, you requested 100, and we took it back to 80, now is that going to work?
Yeah, I told him that'd be
Well, we
fine.
jumped back from budget to budget. Now we're going to Lowit?
Well, Lowit doesn't have anything, but I wanted to point out, going through some things this last week, that it appears the county has made an ordinance and stuck with it throughout, minus the chief deputy of the sheriff's department. The adopted plan, I can't find where it was ever rescinded or amended, so Jason's salary needs to reflect 80% of my salary.
Is that the amount you got in here?
No.
No. What would that be?
80,000.
This year would have been $84,634.40.
What was that figure again?
For this year's would be $84,634.40. I don't know what next year's raise, so I'd have to figure a number. If this ordinance was amended, like I said, I cannot find it. So Jason's
What
been
does, how does that
underpaid.
law read on that? Was it just certain offices where they had to make, huh?
I know what he's talking about.
I know what he's
Remember how we
talking
got
about. I was, for some reason, I'm thinking that was certain offices they have to pay, they have to make 80%, not necessarily clear across the board. But I'm not positive how that law read again.
Well, like I said, the ordinance that the county signed is 2002-10.
Yeah.
You research that and give us some definite figures.
And what amount are you asking for that position, Mark?
80% of my, whatever my salary would be next year.
So what would that be? What would be 80% of yours this year?
80% of 100 is $80,000.
That was 84,000 at 84 something I gave for this year's.
100,000, 80% is 80,000.
Yep. Use the figure.
This would be based on his proposed 2018 requested budget. There's
On,
nothing here.
Further on through your jail budget, medical care for inmates, I see that's going down. Is-
Jody?
That moved to Lowit.
Yeah.
Okay.
The sheriff's what number? Where's the sheriff at the state right now? He's staying.
It's a little late, you should have brought that up 8 years ago.
Gotta be up there.
Any other questions for Mark on either the jail or department?
Thank you.
Thank you. We'll move back to the assessor.
Where can I find that?
I have no notation for changes.
I can't even find it.
Extension office. Notation changes on the professional services. So John Woodson me's position.
took the full time,
Yep.
or approved it.
Next item is planning and building.
I don't have anything on it either.
Thank you. The one change that was noted was the salary for the director, cutting that back to the 2017 budget of $58,000, which is fine. I will note, though, that both that salary and the planning and permitting technician were under budgeted in 2017 compared to what the factored rates are for those two categories. So the director's position at the fully factored rate would be $58,262, and the planning and permitting technician, which is $11,319, would be $34,000 even, to bring those into line with what the factored positions are.
On professional services, 3000 on it, show an increase of $1,000.
Yes, that would be for the county attorney, the Plan Commission BZA attorney. In 2016, we over budgeted for it, and it seems like in 2017, we've under budgeted. So for 2018, it's kind of cutting the difference. That's what we use to pay for violations that we have to pursue through the court system, for example. And this year, we've had 2 cases that have not gone to court, but have gone into that realm.
Okay. Any other questions for him? Thank you.
Thank you.
GIS, I see no changes. Veteran Service Officer reduced his budget, no changes.
Did we clarify if that change in his salary was a typographical error, or whether he actually reduced his salary, though?
On planning?
No, on veteran service. Last year, he's paid $12,159, and this year, he's requesting $12,126. Was that a typo, or is that?
I think it's just the
Typo.
Let's put that back to at least what it was.
12,159.
Yeah, I crossed out.
Can we
the
do that?
number.
We can add to the budget in that category?
Yeah.
Okay.
It stayed the same. Building maintenance, I have no notations.
Mark's still here, but I don't know.
Next item's a museum.
So I just got a notice that you wanted to review the salaries, but I'm looking at it and I'm going to offer up that we will do, under the total supplies, the other services and charges, we'll do all of last year's budgets on those numbers, if that'll help.
What lines are those?
31003 through 37004. They were all at about, most of them were at a 3% increase.
Well, I mean, you're talking about $344, so
But,
we
you
appreciate
know,
that, but I want to
yeah.
make sure that you're covering yourself, too.
It appears to me those are minimal changes.
Yes, not at all.
Right, but, you know,
But
gotta bring it down.
No, we appreciate the attitude, most certainly, because there's going to be some tough there's going to be some tough cuts that are going to have to be made before long.
You're sitting where you're sitting, so. On the other ones, I don't know what you had in mind for the salaries.
Sure yet either. We have not made salary ordinance or decisions yet, have we? No.
We don't know where we're at. We can't shoot a number till we know where we're at.
For curator, we have 29 hours per week, and then the assistant is 27, and then we have 2 people in that third position, a part-time position, so. So they're all part-time positions, actually.
Any questions?
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Soil and water?
Any changes there?
I see no changes. Surveyor, engineer? See no changes. Highway department?
So I understand there's 3 questions. One has to do with the number of employees under the truck driver, 11109. And the answer is currently, which keep in mind you just added a truck driver for us. So that brings us to 10 drivers and 6 operators.
We gotta get to the sheet, there it is.
That's currently. With this budget request, that is to add an additional driver, one more additional driver in that line item.
An additional one, according, didn't we authorize you to get a new one this fall?
Yes, and we did.
Are you talking about another one beyond that?
Another one beyond that, yes.
After January 1?
Correct.
What did you say the total is right now? How many?
Right now, it's 10 drivers, 6 operators. So what's proposed with the budget would be 11 drivers and 6 operators.
Now, would that include a new truck too, Brandon, you need?
We are planning, we have ordered another truck.
But I mean, you wouldn't need another truck then?
No, we've got enough.
Oh,
and
okay.
Plus, we're getting a new one, yeah. We're not short on trucks, that's why we're asking for additional help, actually.
When you say 10 drivers and 6 operators, those operators are still drivers too. They're all capable of driving,
Oh,
right?
absolutely.
Right,
yeah.
okay. I
When
didn't
it
want to
comes
make
to
sure.
operating a backhoe, or the distributor, or the chip spreader.
And they've got that, they've got that additional experience and
A little bit higher
skills.
wage. Yeah.
But Brandon, 1109, or 11109, that includes the driver you have already hired,
Yes,
plus one more in that number.
correct.
We scratched an office assistant out of that.
On your additional paperwork here on Cume Bridge on it, shows it changes. What are the changes that compared to your first
On Cume Bridge,
Cume Bridge?
I asked Janet to add 36,000 for bridge inspection. There's,
Okay.
we're right now in the process of reviewing a contract with our bridge consultant for a new 4-year cycle. There's been changes implemented by the Federal Highway and NDOT as far as the different additional analyses that they need to do on bridges. So, for the first phase, which is the first 2 years, that fee has gone up. We haven't completely gone through that services and fees sat down to negotiate anything, but that's what's been proposed, so.
Brandon, is this correct, that you're taking 100,000 out of bridge repair and maintenance? And you've got it down to 50,000, you took 100,000 out of it?
Well, that could be. I don't know if
That's
that shows.
That's what it shows.
Yeah, so our paperwork shows.
In book.
Yeah, and what have we spent on bridge repair? Probably not that much.
47,255?
27?
40?
47. Yeah.
Oh, no, I'm sorry, that's what you spent in 2016.
That is such a floating target. That's very hard to predict. You know, we've started doing some of those minor repairs with our own forces. Sometimes things come up that you don't expect, and so you could have 100,000, or like if you're saying that 2 years ago we only spent 47. What I was trying to do when I presented the budget was to keep it reasonably within the expected revenue, because there's not a lot of additional money on the cash page.
Speaking of additional revenue, don't you anticipate some from the state next year?
For highway, yes.
Yeah, for highway.
Shows.
Yeah, how much that's gonna be.
Well, I mean, I thought I did. I thought I did. You know, we've gotten a lot of different projections. It's supposed to be significant. The last estimate that I got from the state auditor was a 45 to 50% increase. And that, again, that is what I used for my budget for highway, which is MVH, and local road and street budgets.
How much total dollars is that, approximately?
Oh, I don't know, Jim.
No guess.
Well, the difference between last year's budget and this year's budget, that's what it is.
Good answer.
How's that gonna affect your budget and what you spend, and where are you gonna put that money? Comes in July, what are you gonna
We
do?
put it in the roads, Bill.
Okay, but I mean, you're gonna have to carry it over, you can't put it all in 1 year. You can't do it all in
Well,
1 year.
if we don't have enough help, we can't, you're right.
But like this year, let's say you did 110 miles or whatever, chip and seal. So with the additional funds, what would you go to, 130 or 40 mile, or what do you think?
Well, like next year, we're planning on doing 110 miles of chip seal, but some of those miles need to have some, what we call wedge and level. County Road 250 West, Airport Road, those are busy roads and they are rough. And so we will have to hire a contractor to come in with a paver and level that up before we chip seal it, to try and make it a little smoother. We did a little bit of that this year, with our guys, with the belly blade, with cold mix, and it helped some, but it was a lot smaller scale.
Money you get already, and you have been getting in years past, based on the gasoline tax, and with adding a dime on, well, does that stay pretty consistent, or does that change a lot from year to year? I mean, like...
Oh, that hasn't been raised since like...
Well, I know that, but I mean, the amount of gasoline tax collected, I mean, does that fluctuate from year to year, or is it kind of an unknown?
Yes, it does, by action of the state, because if you remember back, well, there was only 2 of you that was on council at the time, but the state took some of that money and put it towards
Retirement.
14% of it.
And they can do it again, according to this new legislation, they can take away from it.
Sure.
But I mean, I guess my question is, does gasoline consumption change much from year to year?
I wouldn't know that.
That's probably an unknown number they don't want you to know, probably, but...
Well, 93.6125% of all statistics are made up. So you can believe whatever number you see or whatever number they want to publish.
So when you get a check of this new money, whenever it does come, there's no guarantee it'll be that much from year to year to year then, or even close?
No, we're at the state's mercy, you know. I mean, we're trusting that we're getting our share. I'm guessing that,
Well,
well, I mean, we're not gonna go down and audit them.
We never have got our share, simply because we have a lot of pickups compared to cars.
Well, you know,
More than other counties.
they make the formula so complicated that, you know, argue me what our share is, you know?
Oh, yeah.
Take what you get and make hay while the sun's shining, and until 2019 or 2020, when the governor can start dispersing that money how towards whatever he sees fit, you know, we need to do what we can while we can, is what I'm saying, but
Kim, you asked a question about the bridge repair and maintenance budget. They appropriated $150,000. Their expenditures up to this date's $875,000.
I think that's why we cut that. $875.
We cut that to 50, didn't we? For this next year?
50,000, yeah.
they cut it to 50.
Okay.
I don't, that $875 is, something must have got paid out of the wrong line item, because we did some repairs on, I'll have to look into that. I don't think that's right, maybe it was last year.
There's a lot paid out of bridge replacement. There's like 257,000 paid out there.
Yeah, I'll have to look at our claims. So, are you proposing that we cut bridge maintenance?
No, I just wanted to make sure that was right.
Yeah.
Yeah, again.
We reduced it, we reduced it at 100,000, left it at 50, and that's what our expenses are for this year.
Well, again, we've started doing some of the minor repairs, erosion around the corners and things like that, removing brush. We've started doing that with our own people as we can.
He cut that, John, we didn't.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
So you must have looked at your budget when you put this budget together to cut that yourself. Otherwise, you wouldn't have cut it by that much if you would have looked up and saw that you only spent $1,000 this year, probably, right?
Yeah, well, that one's, like I say, you never know what's gonna come up. Based on our repair list, we don't have anything major coming up as far as recommendations from our
201.
consultants.
You're here. You put pea gravel on instead of the limestone. Well, I've gotten some calls.
No way.
But I have, but their question is that, why are they doing that? And I said, well, what I was told was that Amish buggies can, the pea gravel helps it a lot better than the limestone. And, you know, I get, oh yeah, we got a gravel road. And I said, it'll pack down just like the others. Now, am I telling them right or not?
Yeah, you
Okay.
are. It will pack down just like the others. Pea gravel, it is more dense than limestone, and it resists the horses, I mean, that's a lot of
The
PSI.
shoes. Well, Kevin told me that, and I passed that information on to the 2 or 3 that called me, and I just want to make sure I'm telling them right.
Yeah, well, it's,
I don't want to tell them to call Tom Wester.
If you don't do anything, and the commissioners can attest to this, if you don't do anything, they complain. When you do something, they complain.
Well, I think it's packed down a lot. It's been a week, and I think it's still a little loose gravel, or loose stone, but I think it's packing down.
It is, it does, it will, yeah. And it is purely because of the Amish, because them horses will chew that limestone.
Well, I heard from them last Monday night, are we going back to a gravel road? And I said, no, that'll pack down.
Yeah, on my notations on there on 11201 and 11302 on it, I have a question mark on it. There are additional positions over and above the truck drivers, correct?
Correct.
Yeah, we can't come that out.
We took one out, we took the supervisor out.
Supervisor out and left the office assistant in?
No, we took both of them
We took
out.
both out.
Took both of them out.
I think Brandon told us he didn't need an office assistant.
Based on the most recent information that we've gotten from State Board of Accounts, I'm going to say yes. But I guess if that changes, I'll have to come back. They had proposed 7 pages of new forms where we were to track all of our expenses daily by the equipment and the personnel down to the amount of grease and antifreeze that we use. Okay? Seriously. So after, I'm sure, what was much resistance, State Board of Accounts issued a stay on that directive, but with no guidance whatsoever. So, again, we're at the mercy of the state. If they're going to dictate that we need to do something, then plan on me coming back. But right now, what we've done is we've ramped up our reporting a little bit. We do have a program that lets us enter the data to really be utilized. It probably needs to be spiced up a little bit, but we are having the guys do a little better reporting on where they're working, what material they're using, because if the state wants to enforce that, we will have to prove that we are spending 50% of our money on the maintenance, construction, and reconstruction of highways. So, I'm good with cutting the office assistant position. The supervisor, I'm going to request a little brawl, because, I mean, we've got more money to spend, we want to spend more money, we want to get more projects done, and, you know, there needs to be more supervision if you're going to have more guys and more work.
You anticipate any major equipment purchases?
Major is we've ordered another tandem truck. I talked to you about that a few months ago. We went ahead and ordered that. There's some other minor, I'd like to get maybe some skid loader attachments. And we've talked about pavement saw. There's quite a few items that we're considering, but the major one would be the truck.
Well, and something we kicked around a little bit at the last meeting too was, at one time, the highway went out and cut the landfill grass. And that was suggested again.
When was that?
We just talked, they used to do it, the highway used to mow. I mean, several years ago.
Yeah.
But the other day, we kicked that around again. I mean, that conversation come up. And I don't know, seemed like someone suggested that maybe the highway ought to do that again.
Well, let me tell you, the highways gets suggested to do a lot of things, okay? And it makes it kind of difficult when I keep getting these requests for me or my staff to do stuff, and I'm getting resistance on getting additional staff. So please consider that.
On that supervisor position, it shows 52,644. Would that be promoting one of your truck drivers or one of your operators to that supervisor position? So it wouldn't be adding another position, just be making them a supervisor?
Not necessarily. I mean, that's a possibility, but...
Well, I guess what I'm asking for, are you asking for rank structure, or are you asking for another whole employee?
Another whole employee.
Okay.
Going back to the, asking for another for next year, another operator,
Truck driver.
truck driver.
Yes.
What time of year mostly would you be needing that?
Year-round.
Is there well, there's certain times of the year that you are much busier than others.
I'll argue that. We're busy all the time. We're going to be done chip sealing this week, and then we're going to go start cutting brush. We're going to be berming. We're going to be cutting ditches. We're going to be placing culverts. Nah, we don't get... If it's pouring down rain, that's when we're slow. That's about it. Otherwise, we're working. Come on down.
And in the winter time, you're busy plowing snow?
Plowing snow, cutting brush. You know, if it's not frozen and dry, we can berm. I mean, whatever, replace culverts if it's not froze 4 foot deep. We're already gearing up for next year's 100 miles because we've got berming and ditching and culverts and...
I'm just curious.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I don't want you to have been misinformed.
I'm not misinformed, I was just curious.
Yeah.
I haven't been misinformed. Yeah. In our budget discussions prior, we've eliminated the supervisor and office assistant. Are we going to have any changes in that? Stands as is. Correct?
Yeah, but no, we didn't really address the new driver. Did we, I mean, or did we, say,
You got it in there, haven't you?
No, we have,
I mean, did we agree that we was gonna let him hire another new driver in January?
I thought he had, is that in
It's
your
in here.
it's in here.
request?
It's in here.
I just have
Yeah,
a question, I have a question mark there.
It's in
I didn't
here.
know.
It's in a 743.
It's in the,
Well, on this,
yeah,
on this sheet, it says, question how many additional, so I think it's tough to look at that, it's tough to look at, I mean, I think what's confusing on that, for me, is the fact that you've got all the truck drivers listed in one line item, as far as their salaries, rather than, so.
that includes the 11 truck drivers, the number you have here.
Right,
Yes.
right.
We've got 10, and that includes 11.
The 11th one is to come after January 1, correct?
That's correct.
I thought it said he had it in there. I don't have anything else.
Yeah, I have the discussion on it.
Where are we at on that? That's still in the budget, right?
No, I kind of think we crossed it out last week, so why I bring it up now.
The 11th truck driver?
Well, I marked everything off there and left it just like it was at 611, but that wouldn't be accurate because there's one already should be added on to it.
What does
So-
this number reflect, Jana? What's that 91,082, what's that reflect?
That's taking out the supervisor and the office assistant, and you guys didn't know, you didn't make a decision on the truck driver.
I don't
so you're
think we did.
questioning.
No, we did not. As I recall.
You didn't cut it, you didn't,
No, we didn't do anything, but his request is in here. We either.
Well, I think the question was whether you already had one or whether you was requesting two. I mean, but we already got one.
Yeah, we've
So it's
got
really,
one.
it's one additional.
Yeah, you let me hire
That's-
one just 2 months ago, a month and a half, yes.
That was-
And the budget is to hire another.
That was part of the reason for my question, was the,
Yeah, I understand. But I want you to understand that with more money to be spent, I mean, you can only do so much. We got our hours cut to 7.5 hours a day. We can only do so much with the manpower that we've got. So I would, I mean,
But I'd hate to see you get so many that you need that supervisor, because I think I was told at the time that this all come together, that you could handle it all.
yeah, well.
Yeah, I remember that
That's kind of a
conversation
cheap
too.
shot, to be honest. We're talking about more work, well above and beyond what was being discussed at that time. We're talking about a 45 to 50% increase in revenue, talking about doing additional work with additional staff.
And
I mean, we can just tell the
here you are, Brandon, we're trying to figure out how we can cut,
Well,
and
why do
then
need to cut the-
you
why do
want
need
to
to cut the
balloon.
highway budget? Why do you need to cut the highway budget?
Yeah, we can't do anything about it. That doesn't
Well,
affect us.
I just, but the employees, we just keep getting more employees, and that comes up.
Because we need them. I'm telling you, as the department head, we need them. If you don't believe me, I can just leave and you can take over or find someone else. I mean, I'm tired of getting kicked in certain places. You guys, you either trust me or you don't.
I don't have a problem with the extra help, I just have a problem to hiring a man just to supervise.
Well, come on down and let's talk about and go through the things.
Brandon, I've run men all my life, but I don't have a problem with hiring men, but if we gotta hire them and put a supervisor on top of them, then that's what I have a problem with. You should have enough employees down there that's got enough time, years' service, that you could put a new guy with, that you don't have to supervise them guys. If you don't trust them, then we got a problem.
It's not just about supervising people, okay? I can't just say, go replace that culvert, okay? A, you've got to have the culvert on hand. Somebody's got to order that. B, you've got to call in locates. You know, it takes about half an hour to an hour just to call in locates for a project. You've got to deal with landowners, adjoining property owners. It's not just go send somebody to do something. There's a lot more to it than that. And, I mean,
My understanding that the 91,082 with the 2 positions does not affect county general at all. It comes strictly out of your highway
That
budget.
is absolutely correct.
That may have anything to do with the money we're trying to save.
It does not.
And you've got the money there to support that.
Well, based on what the state auditor is telling me, yes. When the state reviews our budget, because you approving it is just one step, the state has to approve it too. And if they see that we've over budgeted, they're going to tell me we've got to cut.
And they do that every once in a while. We've had that a lot of times. I got another question on that, anything to do with the budget, but you talked about getting some roofs repaired done on the building, are you already working on that?
Yeah.
I don't mean you working on it. but-
Apparently, Line Street is a corridor for roofing contractors because they just drive up and down there and they're stopping in and dropping off brochures and giving us quotes, and you can't believe how many people want to fix them roofs for us.
Figure that they're in
I like
they're in such
driveways.
bad shape that everybody looks at it and can't believe it.
Well, it's pretty obvious if you look at them. That they're in bad
Apparently, it looks
shape.
bad.
But, you know, you're talking $65,000 to $80,000 for three of the 5 buildings. I put in $60,000 for that budget item.
I just wondered if you had that in process.
Not too aggressively, but
Okay.
we're considering it, yes.
That's all I got was this.
So have we made a decision on the driver?
Well, it's in his request. If we say no, we gotta change the amount of money, because you got it figured in there. And I don't have a problem with it.
I don't have a problem with leaving that in there right now and seeing what the state says if the budget won't support it.
Well, you'll know by January 1st what you're going to get, aren't you, or not?
When do we get, was it 1582 or something like that? That we get from them? Is that 1st of February or?
Oh, 1782 notices. Okay, yeah, that's usually, sorry, I was like, 1582, what are you talking about? That's usually, they're trying to make it earlier than that. So yeah, it's usually the beginning of February.
I mean, I don't have a problem waiting until we get 1782 for either of those positions that I'm pushing for. You know, I don't, it doesn't do any good to have more staff than you can spend the money on, you know. I'm just saying, based on what we're being told, we're gonna have a lot more money to spend, and
It doesn't really make much difference what we do today, because you're gonna pay them out of the money you don't have. So,
yeah.
So in essence, we're going to table the decisions on the 3 positions until...
Well, I'm good with the office assistant, cutting that. I'm fine with that, just as long as you understand if State Board of Accounts changes their position, I'm gonna be back. Or look for something to change.
So the office assistant's out, so the question is whether we support supervisor and 1 driver.
Driver, yes.
So you better get motions, I guess, on one at a time on them. I would suggest to see if there's...
Let's take a motion on the additional driver. Have a motion, do we have a second? Additional driver dies at lack of a second. Supervisor, do we have a motion? Dies for lack of a motion.
That's pretty disappointing.
Next up is the prosecutor. Has been any significant changes?
where do I find it?
Community corrections is all grant money. Next up is commissioners.
Okay, actually, we just received this August 9th, and we haven't had time to, or an opportunity to have a public meeting on this to discuss, so we're going to have to accept the cuts that we have.
We did add 15,000 for landfill as a line item, didn't we? Did we?
We didn't really add anything, we just added an additional line item, and took some money out of a different line item.
I got a note at the bottom, landfill, and I put 15,000, I thought we were going to create a new line item.
That's right.
Yeah, I took the same
We want to
notes.
make a new line item for the dump.
You took other services that had 25,000 and it split 15,000 to go to landfill and 10,000 we put in other services.
It's still
Correct,
stayed the
that's
same.
right. That's
Account
right.
number
That's right.
30012. Group insurance was changed from 1,249,000 to 1,200,000. Unemployment comp was changed from 5,000 to 1,000. Supplies were changed from 15,000 to 10,000. Computer supplies were changed from 25,000 to 20,000. Legal services were changed from 100,000 to 50,000. And
George, most of them we had looked, or had John look at what you'd expended so far, like the attorney fees, that's why we cut it, because we wasn't much spent.
Yeah.
I mean, have you got any comments about them? I mean,
The
one way or
attorney
another?
fees, I can tell you that we have a couple of situations going on right now. We lost
saw
one of the
one.
court cases, and there's going to be attorney fees. That was one reason that we had upped that. Plus, we have a new attorney, and we were trying to make sure that we were covered on the new attorney. The new attorney, we're going to ask that he spends a little bit more time with us in the meeting. We've been, the old attorney was with us maybe an hour, and that was about it. But we really need someone to represent us through the whole meeting.
Plus, we knew that he'd want to charge you a little less rate, lower rate.
Yeah.
But then if you need him more, why?
Yeah, and we've been fortunate.
Yeah.
Years ago, the council used to have their own attorney. I'm talking way back. I'm not advocating it right now, but we can use the commissioner's attorney if we need him or want him.
Yes.
He is designated as county attorney, not commissioner's attorney.
It's county attorney.
I don't know if we ever had a separate one. I never remembered one.
Oh,
I come on here, Ben Gates represented everybody, and I don't ever remember one representing us.
I guess that's right. Ben did represent us when he showed up, like.
He didn't come to every meeting, but I mean, he'd come once in a while.
Yeah.
I'm sure he'd be available for the.
No, probably wouldn't be.
Then consulting and engineering was changed from 36,000 to 30,000, and equipment maintenance from 78 to 50. And then the additional line item for the landfill.
And that was put in there for testing and anything to deal with the landfill.
Yeah, and IDEM is getting tighter and tighter on that, and we're having testing done about every month or every other month now.
Is that enough,
Yeah.
the 15?
Well, you guys, all three of you are here about that landfill. Did you say you've been out there with Tom? Did you?
Tom,
And they said just people just dumping whatever out there, it seems like.
Skids out there, and
And we need to put a stop to that, don't you think?
yeah.
Is that,
Huh? Well, I don't know.
isn't
but-
that gated?
It is
Oh,
gated.
yeah, but shoot, I took the bolt out and drove in
Yeah,
myself. Wasn't no big deal.
Yeah.
but you know, to get somebody to mow that and everything with all that stuff out there, it's gonna be,
Kim cleaned it up. Kim's crew did a really good job of cleaning it up, a lot better than some of them.
And we have the barnstormers that goes out there on the weekends, and they use that also. But they keep their area pretty clean.
It's mowable now. You know, before it was pretty ugly.
Where are we at? How much more do we have to?
I don't think there's any, when I looked, there wasn't anything that had been dumped there that was very fresh. It's been there a while.
The only thing that we can do is we'll probably end up, for the next year, look into, we've got SES that's doing our testing for us right now. We might want to look into a second or a third party to compare pricing on that. That's one way that we can,
Because that's something you're never going to get away from, is it?
no, not anymore.
I need to know.
That's still sinking all the time, isn't it? When they went with an all grade or something, highway department, can they just haul that out of the ditches, haul that up there and fill that in?
Yeah, and we need to do that again also. I'll have to talk to Brandon, because that was one suggestion that they made the last time that we've got some areas that are caving in a little bit. There's
So would you
constant gas
recommend-
coming out
So
of
would your
there.
recommendation be?
They monitor that gas? They monitor that gas or
Yes.
recapture it?
7 paydays?
We don't recapture it at all, but we
Is
monitor it.
is there enough that it could be recaptured, you think?
I doubt it,
7
not
paydays.
And if the state comes
efficiently.
back on our
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah. But
that's a good point.
Nathan or Kim, I imagine if State would went Kim, mowed that thing, and then they took a dozer over and leveled it up. So if they mowed it, it's good, I ought to
Because we
sue
need to
them
get
now,
that
they
done
uh,
did it.
today, so that you can get the figures plugged in.
any questions?
And I think
But obviously, price won't get to be too many years. I see no other changes on it. One thing we need to do, we need to discuss and make a decision on the salary ordinance and what direction we're going to go with that. We've kicked around several numbers on it. Probably the most sound thing to do, and receiving a recommendation from Jana, is to have no pay raise with 27 pay periods. Anybody have any ideas, suggestions, or,
You would have no, now,
correct?
do what?
Well, I ran the numbers, and if we were able to, which it's looking like we're able to fund, if we didn't give any raises, and we funded the 27th pay for everyone, it looks like with the miscellaneous revenue we get and the property taxes we get, we would be able to fund that. The budget workshop again is the 28th and the 29th of the DLGF. If they tell me that we are not able to, then I would suggest looking at other alternatives, but at this point in time, if we would be able to fund that without a raise. That's just
I disagree with that method, based on the fact that, as I stated before in our meetings, that shorts the employees' money towards their pension in the long run, because essentially you're giving them, I don't want to call it a bonus, but you're not incorporating that into their salary on what they'll be paid the year after that. Or, so when they look at their pension, or it comes time to retire, that's going to be a direct reflection of not as not a raise, as not an increase in their wages. I would be in favor of giving a raise in lieu of giving an extra paycheck, and then having the pay periods readjusted by having their total amount of compensation divided out over 27 periods, or over 27 rather than the 26. So essentially they would be good. I think we should give a raise. Maybe even, I don't know what it would be, but my statement is I'm against giving the extra paycheck without giving it as a raise.
We're talking about next year. Why don't we, one thing, change when we pay? Like go to the 1st and the 15th when I have 26 pay days.
That'd be 24 if you paid on the 1st and the 15th.
Right.
24
Yeah,
pay periods.
yeah.
But as someone explained to us, it sounded like that was going to be too much. That was my initial thought as well, and I was in support of that. But since hearing from Jana's office, I've decided that it's not a long-term solution. It's not even a short-term solution.
That'd make it hard to do the payroll.
Yeah.
I mean, Vicki sat down here and explained everything to you
Right.
guys, so.
With Vicki.
It sounded like there was going to be additional costs associated with changing to a bi-monthly or twice monthly, 1st and the 15th, because of system changes, and I don't support the additional costs, just to...
No, but then we get into the situation. If we did that, it'd cure getting into this situation again, which we will.
Exactly, yeah, that was my thought as well.
So what is a general consensus within our council here on what direction to go for as opposed to paying the 27th? In my viewpoint of it, it's still a pay raise by getting the 27th paycheck on it. So wouldn't that be included into the pension?
Well, no, because next year, when we sit here and figure out a budget for next year, it'll be back to 26 pays, and they'll still be paid at the same rate.
But for 2019, we did another salary ordinance and cover that.
Yeah. Well, then you'd be essentially having to go back and do a salary ordinance for the extra check this year and whatever you wanted to give them next year.
What works out the best for the auditor's office?
Would you have to do a salary ordinance to do it this year, 2017, or 20, do an extra one?
What I'm saying is, if we're going to, if the extra paycheck is the amount that y'all want to give as a pay increase, then I think that we need to go through and make a salary ordinance and assign that to that person, and that is going to be a direct reflection of giving that each individual position that pay increase. Because if you don't, you're not giving a pay increase, you're just giving an extra check. So when they get their W-2 at the end of the year, it's going to reflect that they got that extra amount. But then the start of the next year, it's essentially wiped away. It's never part of their salary. So it's a bonus. It's not a rate increase.
We operate on a budget that fills out each individual person's annual salary. And however we figure out to do it, we get that annual salary paid that year, not below it, not above it, whatever we have to adjust in the paydays. But we have to go by that annual salary.
Well, then maybe
Go ahead. In that case, just take the annual salary and divide that over 27 pays rather than 26, and then decide if you can afford a pay raise, a new salary ordinance with an increase. But we're at a disadvantage because the budget workshop is not until the 28th or 29th of this month, and we don't know what we can afford, and I will never support something that we can't afford. So I can't answer right now what I think the ordinance ought to be.
So can we give Janice some ideas on how to plug the figures in to go one direction or the other?
It makes a lot of difference how you plug it in, so long as it turns out to be you pay the annual salary in that year.
So what direction would you like to see it go?
Does it have something to do with your office? I mean, how can you make it work?
Well, maybe I'm not fully understanding how you're trying to give the compensation for giving an extra paycheck. Maybe you need to explain that to me. Maybe I'm just not understanding things here.
I've suggested before is for the salary ordinance to eliminate this problem long-term when it happens again 10, 11 years down the road. You set the salary ordinance as biweekly, the biweekly pay for everyone. You don't even put an annual wage. And I think Pam and I even discussed this. You don't put the annual wage on the salary ordinance, you put the biweekly salary. So then, no matter what, no matter how many pays you have, you multiply that biweekly salary by however many pays we have, and that's what we appropriate.
But that throws a wrench in the works for all hourly employees and overtime.
Hourly employees, they're covered in the salary ordinance, and are you talking part-time? Because, I mean, everyone, pretty much the only hourly employees are part-time, correct? Right. Am I right in saying that? So, and they can make a max of $17 an hour per the current salary ordinance.
But there was I think what Chad was referring to when your deputy was down here, payroll, I'm sorry, share that with Vicki. When Vicki was down here, she said that would be very difficult to do because of the whatever dates that you picked in a month to pay. No, that was when we're talking about on the 1st and 15th.
Yeah, that was the
bi-monthly.
That was not.
So you're talking about bi-weekly.
I'm just saying for everyone is salaried. They have a bi-weekly pay that's set. I'm saying no matter what, set the salary ordinance as bi-weekly pays for everyone. And no matter what, if we have 27 pays that year, you multiply them by 27. If we have 26, you multiply them all by 26, and that's what you budget. That's what I'm saying. Rather than looking at an annual figure, when someone asks what their salary is, you give them their biweekly figure, say this is your salary.
That's what we'd have to do, because that's all we go by, is an annual salary for everybody, except for part-time.
You go by, you appropriate that money.
Wasn't that what we're talking about doing now, as far as dividing it out over 27 paychecks instead of 26? Isn't that essentially what we're talking about doing?
Yes. Should, wouldn't make any difference, just a matter of dividing.
So if, arbitrary figures, if you had make $20,000 a year, divide that by 27, and that's what your biweekly pay would be, correct?
And then the next year, you would go back to dividing it by 26.
Then next year, you go back by 26.
I'm saying look at it the other way and it would eliminate this position completely in the future.
You got anything?
Any more comments from council in reference to this?
We're a long way from $400,000 cutting out of our budget.
Again, this was just for operating, and the 10.6 million included the 27th pay plus a $13.65 wage increase. So it's already way above and beyond what you guys are looking at to give. So it's gonna change, it's gonna fluctuate. I just did operating because that's all you guys looked at. So that's not including deciding what you guys are gonna do on salaries.
And what's the figures without the 27th pay? You had two figures that you come up with?
You asked me to look at a $780 increase for everyone, and it came to a total of, for county general, came to a total of $99,060. And then for the $1,000 raise for everyone, it came to $127,000. And I have the figures for all the other funds if you'd like to see those as well, but I know the one we were mostly focused on was county general.
And that's without the 27th pay.
That's without, but the 27th pay, I believe, when I looked at it, I think Pam, did you have this number on your spreadsheet for the 27th pay? I think it was like around 140,000. So it's not a huge difference from the $1,000 raise for everybody.
Did you follow all that?
Well, except for the fact I'm still getting stuck on next year when there's 26 pay periods. If we just give everybody their 27th check this year, then their rate would still be at what it is for this year. They would get the extra check next year, but then the year after, it would be at the same rate as what they got, and where it's at right now, or in 2017.
Well,
Yeah.
it depends on what we did. Every year, it depends on what we do.
Because you're essentially not raising their, unless you're changing the salary ordinance to, and this is maybe where I'm not understanding, once you say, okay, this is what we're doing, we're giving the 27th paycheck, and then you amend the salary ordinance to say, okay, that's their salary, and then when you go back to the next year, then you're dividing that total amount over the 26, and then adding whatever raise that we would give in that year. Is that what you're saying? Is that what I'm not understanding?
It's two different salary ordinances, one for 2018, one for 2019. We would sit down in 2018 and discuss it very much like we're doing here for 2019, correct?
So the 2018 salary ordinance would be,
We have a new salary ordinance every year.
right,
So you have the discussion and do it however you decide you want to do it. It doesn't have to be consistent from year to year necessarily.
but if we give an extra paycheck this year and call that the raise, then we incorporate that into their compensation as the salary ordinance change, right? Am I understanding that?
You lost me.
Well, we're not just giving an extra check, though. I mean, if we give an extra check, what everybody's extra check is, we take those numbers, and that is how you make your salary ordinance. for that position, or for the county, for all the positions for that year. Right?
Jim, you've been here a while.
Don't look at me.
Been here a while. What are your thoughts?
Well, you can't give them an extra pay cut in 17 without redoing 17 salary ordinance.
That's what I'm asking.
You go to 18, you make a new salary ordinance, or however you want to do it. You can do it either way you want, that's strictly up to us, how we want to do it.
Well, then we're back, in my
can
mind, we're
always-
back to the question on what kind of raise we're going to give. If we give everybody an extra paycheck, then we're giving a percentage of raise rather than giving everybody the $1,000 across the
Well, you
board.
just figure out how much, to me, you just figure out how much are we gonna pay a truck driver for next year? And are we gonna give him a raise? Then how much is that? Then divide it by however many times we're gonna pay him. Fairly simple, I think.
We've been hashing this over a little bit. Commissioners, you have anything you want to add? Any comments?
The only thing I was thinking, you need to make a decision whether you're gonna give a flat fee for a raise or a percentage first. And go from there.
I don't think we're interested in percentages.
No.
We've pretty much decided.
I don't think percentages
We pretty much
are in the
decided a
picture.
flat
Give everybody
fee.
an extra paycheck, that's a
So Then
percentage.
you have to make up your flat fee and time your employees. And then it's immaterial how many pay times you give them, it's so many dollars a year. You're paying.
That's what I'm trying to get at. Doesn't make any difference how you divide it up. It's X number of dollars per year.
But if you give an extra pay, you're giving percentage, because the $100,000 employee is gonna get a lot more raise more percentage than what the $20,000 employee gets.
But we had decided that we would take the annual salary and divide that over 27 pays rather than 26. So it would still be, if a $100,000 employee made 26 or 27 pays, he'd still make $100,000 regardless.
But that extra check.
That extra check
is a
would be
lot different
higher
percentage
for a different employee.
than $100,000 employee than $30,000.
Correct. That is right.
So it is essentially a percentage.
Yeah, I think we ought to just go to bi-week, or not bi-weekly, but twice a month.
No.
No, you can't. You gotta go by.
There's several department heads within the audience on it. Anybody have any ideas, suggestions, comments?
I'd like to offer a comment.
24
He's got a couple things in mind. Come ahead.
If my annual salary is $26,000, divided by 26 pays, I'm getting $1,000 a pay period. You give me an extra pay, my salary would be $27,000, divided by 27 pays, I'd still be getting $1,000 a pay period. Right? If you take my salary of $26,000 with no increase and divide it by 27, doesn't matter what the annual is. Nobody goes by the annual until they file their taxes. Everybody's getting a pay cut if you do it that way.
No, I disagree. It's not a pay cut. At the end of the year, you make the same amount of money. You make $26,000 and you make $26,000
It matters at
regardless.
the end of the year when you file your taxes. The first pay of 2018 is going to be on January 1st. The 27th pay on 2018 is going to be on December 31st. Okay? We still work 37 and a half hours a week. We still get paid every 2 weeks. It's only going to matter when you file your taxes if you don't fund the 27th pay. Every employee is going to look at their paycheck and say, I got a pay cut.
Yes, they will, and any overtime, because their hourly rate's coming down, but all the other stuff we're getting withdrawals is gonna stay the same, so they're all gonna say, we got a pay cut, because we are getting less on our checks. I'm doing the same job I did last year, but I don't wanna work overtime now, because I lost 40 cents an hour.
3.7%.
Our W-2s do not reflect our annual salary. Because of timing, we get paid a couple pays 1 year for the previous year. So it's always carried over a little bit. So our W-2 does not ever reflect our exact budgeted salary.
I can tell you how we handled it several years ago when it came up. They went ahead and paid us our salary with the 26 pays per year. And then towards the end of the year, they did an adjustment and amended everybody's salary ordinance and threw that extra pay in there. So it was the same to start out the year. You could give a raise if you wanted, you know, but it would be the same, and then you adjust it towards the end of the year to cover it. But they still divided by 26 to pay everybody. Right. And that did happen about 10, 12 years ago.
Was that the year that the calendar just fell that way?
Yeah.
It's going to happen again in 2029.
It'll be many other people's decision at that time.
That's the first time I ever remember this discussion coming.
We never had this discussion before.
Well, no, it was made on, they probably got, what Joey's saying is accurate, is that they didn't address it, and then it got to the point halfway through or thrright of the way through the year, and it was like, oh, what are we gonna do about this? So at least we're being proactive enough that we're on top of it this time. We just gotta figure out what the heck to do now.
Well, I'm still all hung up on the fact that the county operates on an annual budget. We budget X amount of dollars for April's job. As long as we pay her those dollars within that year, I don't care how you divide it up. It's still gonna end up the same thing. We gotta spend what we have budgeted. We have first of the year, we knew another salary budget and doing something else.
What's your answer that you need to plug in?
It happens every 12 years. I mean,
Make a motion.
I don't know. I mean, maybe we're.
Any other conversation?
This thing, I don't know.
Changing to the twice monthly
I think the
instead
school
of
system just
26
didn't
or
pay
27
anybody.
days.
Well, we used to pay twice monthly. When I started the sheriff's department years ago, didn't we pay twice monthly? Didn't the county at one time pay twice monthly?
Once monthly.
Wages or any bonus, or what you want to call it, there you get your money. Any other comments, suggestions, ideas?
$750 for the last.
I don't know how you exactly write your ordinance, and I get you don't want to actually give a technical raise, but can it be written that we get that extra pay like it has in the past? And then next year, the annual and hourly rate was the same as it was for this year?
See, I think you and I are trying to think alike on this, and I'm not, and now I'm starting to think I'm thinking wrong. But I think you just said what I wanted to forget.
You don't want to give an hourly rate, but you pay them to the 27th pay, and then the following year there was no raise, you go back to whatever hourly rate that was, and works out or whatever their pay was set at this year. You're just giving them, like the year before, an extra pay. And I think for purposes of employees, it'd be a real plus, because if we have to explain as department heads, your hourly rate has went down, that's going to be a crush to them.
Help me out, Mark. You work so many hours a year. You get so many dollars. So how's your hourly rate go down? Help me out here.
Oh, if they're gonna pay for 26 pays and you're adding a whole nother pay period, so you're adding, for most people, 37 and a half hours per week, so 75 hours for 2 weeks, so it's gonna adjust your hourly rate.
Especially for
It also affects overtime for your employees, like with Mark, his employees, it affects what their rate of overtime pay is. County highway, the driver's probably the same way, it affects their overtime rate.
I could just be reacting there, overreacting.
If there's no additional comments or suggestions on it, meeting adjourned.
Even though the same number of days.
So we're deciding not to decide it?
Are we going to have another
She's got enough to plug in the figures.
Yeah.
We have a meeting
Are we making a
scheduled.
mountain out of a molehill or what? I don't know what we're doing.
We must be, because we've never had it before.
Well, if it happens every 12 years.
It does.
I'm thinking we're overreacting on it. I just feel like we're overreacting somewhat.
What happens in another 12 years? I don't get you what you do.
I guess I got that in my middle of a book.
3 o'clock.